The next stop on our architectural adventure takes us 500 miles southeast to the home of the old Wild West. We've swapped the lush coastal mountains of California for a rugged mountain range on the outskirts of Tucson, Arizona. It might look like a desert, but we're 2,000 feet above sea level and heading higher into the Tucson mountain range.
In this high-altitude environment, temperatures can reach 100 degrees in summer and plummet to freezing in winter. So a house built in these mountains needs to be robust enough to withstand the unforgiving local weather.
It's so hot, it's so dry.
Is that your tongue sticking to the roof of your mouth?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really hot.
The owners of our next mountain home decided to build deep into this arid mountain range. And in order to deal with this extreme environment, used a building technique that's as old as the hills.
Very exciting, isn't it? I feel
The mountains are really rugged. There's nothing.
Yeah, no.
There.
So that's just dry earth screen.
Yeah, dry earth, bit of scrub.
Yeah, exactly.
The old cowboy, the old outlaw.
It's getting a bit frightening.
Check out this. We're going straight to the mountain, then we have to go straight up.
Piers and I will be spending the night in this remote mountain home to discover what it is about this location that made the owners go to the effort of building here. I cannot imagine choosing to build my dream home here in the mountains.
Maybe you're just too English. For many people, this is super exotic, and people fantasize about escaping to the desert and all that fragile beauty. It's actually getting wilder now, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think we're here.
I've got a code for it.
Good. Let's get in. I'm so hot. I can see the building.
What?
Look.
Now, a wilderness full of coyotes and rattlesnakes might not be everyone's cup of tea. But homeowners and San Diego doctors David and Karen chose not only to build their home in this harsh location, they also plan to retire to these hills. I've got the key. I've got the key to our retreat.
Let's go. I want to get in. Look. Hey, look, look, look. Check it out. It's the same colour as the earth.
It's good looking, isn't it?
Let's
Right.
go.
Okay. God, you're so impatient, honestly. Look at that. Isn't it wonderful the way you could hardly see it?
I love that. It disappears out of view.
Yeah. Look at its setting.
I would have just had you walk through the desert.
But you can't because of the scorpions and the rattlesnakes. You've got to have a path.
I think we're being funneled in to that point. So good buildings, you know instinctively how to get in. So I think that is the way in.
I don't think you're right.
The design for this award-winning house was heavily influenced by the most important element of this environment, the weather. The structure was cleverly positioned on an east-west axis to minimize exposure from the hot sun, whilst allowing light and air to filter through the house. The floor plan consists of two main areas for living and sleeping, each of which opens out onto views of the landscape. As the house was built on a single story and with no connecting corridors, the only way to get between each room is to step outside into the desert. The whole design is tied together by this unusual scattered cube staircase.
Check these out. These are lovely. It's quite graceful, shallow, slow steps.
Yeah, OK. All right. I mean, I can see they're beautiful. I can see they're really architectural.
What do you mean by architectural?
Well, exactly. Quite. What? How dare I? You know, I can see they are quite beautiful. They are interesting, but I'm not sure. I mean, you know,
Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you?
But I suppose what I feel is, you know, I'm in my mid-50s and I'm not going to get any younger, and this is quite tricky to navigate.
But why? They're quite shallow. They're quite generous. They're
Yes.
quite big. They're also places that would encourage you to sit.
All right. I know. Yeah, I'm hearing you.
But the steps aren't the only design feature to immediately capture our attention.
That's charred.
Oh, God, it is. I love that. Do you know, rather tragically, Piers, can I tell you something? Rather tragically, I've actually bought some wallpaper like this for behind my bed.
Fake charred wood.
I know, it's naff, but I
This
love
is
it. I
real
love the
charred
look
wood.
of it.
God, that's beautiful. Look
It's
at it.
very excited.
Check it out.
Yes, I'm checking. It's lovely, it's lovely. Right, here we go. Head up here.
So it leads you in, doesn't it? Beautifully.
No, it does. I do see it.
God, this is lovely. Look at this. This is a front door.
Here we go.
I'll give it a tug. You ready?
What? Noel? What?
That's by the
is
door,
it? Oh, hang
too.
on. Okay, hang on.
It's called at the bottom.
This is actually fabulous looking, but quite irritating.
And here we go. Here we go. It's going. That's it, I think. That is a beautiful door. God, it's nice.
Wow, wow, wow,
I love that.
wow,
Really
wow.
love that. I hate ordinary doors. I love it. It's great, isn't it? Isn't it beautiful?
Piers.
It's beautiful.
Piers. It's so nice.
It's so nice. God, it's nice. God, it's nice. God, it's nice.
It's beautiful. Do you know what I really love about it? You've got the desert and the mountains on either side, and yet this house just enhances it and doesn't take away from it. And I think that's so wonderful.
Preserving the natural beauty of these mountains was key to the design of this home. The owner's desire was to embrace rather than exploit this fragile landscape.
This is where the desert starts. Here, you know, I'm in the house, I'm in the desert.
Oh, it's beautiful, Piers. Because it's so hot here, Piers. I mean, I don't think I've ever been as hot as I am at this minute, actually. But when this is open, presumably the breeze just canters through the
right
house.
the way through. But, you know, also things like this. So this is all about shade. So I guess this sun will never, ever get to here, ever.
But it's not just the clever positioning of this house that makes living in these extreme temperatures bearable. The walls are made from rammed earth, a building technique which has been used for centuries as a way of naturally cooling houses. A wooden framework is built on site. Then, soil from the desert combined with water and a small amount of cement is poured into the wooden molds and then rammed down to form a tightly packed series of solid layers. These high thermal mass walls absorb the heat during the day and release it at night, reducing the need for air conditioning or heating.
It's always great to see how a building is made. And this is so legible. I mean, you can see all the molds, see where the molds were plugged in, see the shape and depth of every lift of this rammed earth. I think for many British people, this is a slightly strange building because it's so unlike the buildings that we know. But the buildings that we know in England grew up out of a tradition of having parapets and roofs and gutters to keep the rain away from the building and detail and ornament to add a certain kind of relief. But here, this is a building that totally makes sense for where it is. It's a building that's really tuned to its climate. It doesn't rain, so there's no need for any relief at all. Any applied ornament would just be ridiculous when actually this building is so tactile and just rich materially.
The 2 bedrooms Piers and I will be staying in are to the left of the living area. But with no connecting corridor, there's only one way to get to them.
Right. Okay. Fabulous steps. This is form over function. I don't care what he says. This is just ludicrous. Actually, this is too big a leap for me, this one, I think. Whoop. Yep. Excellent. It's actually like the Giant's Causeway. Unfortunately, I'm not a giant. It's not like this house to have a stiff door, is it? This is nice.
Overlooking the mountains, this minimalist bedroom doesn't need any curtains. But luckily for us, owners Karen and David have left us a gift.
If the moon is too bright, please use the sleep mask.
It may seem a bit creepy, sleeping in a fishbowl, but don't worry. Nobody lives in the house up the hill. That's so sweet 'cause it's meant to be really reassuring, but it's actually made me really terrified. I didn't even know there was a house on the top of the hill. This is a truly stylish and beautiful bathroom. This has been chosen, very, very carefully. It's beautifully cut. It's so well tiled, this room. It's unbelievable. It's like glass. And then it mirrors the colour from outside, brings that landscape in. And yet, I notice, if you want to, you can open that window so you can be having a bath in the desert and the mountains. You can't really get a better view than that.
As the sun starts to drop behind the mountains, Piers and I get the chance to discover what it's really like to live in this extraordinary environment.
Got a little surprise for you.
Sounds ominous. You've been hunting.
Yeah, I'm gonna skin a rabbit for you, boy.
I'll have my sandwich.
Yeah, right.
The owners built this home looking for an escape from their busy working lives. And it's easy to see what's so attractive about this kind of mountain living.
Not many buildings allow us to be this relaxed in it this quickly.
I've lived in houses for years and felt less relaxed than I do
Me too.
here.
Me too. Do you want another one of these?
Please. No, it does. It really, it's very welcoming, very easy to use.
Really easy to use.
Yeah.
You know, this is their evening every day. How extraordinary is that?
I've never been anywhere like this in my life, have you?
So different, yet it fits in so beautifully.
I love it. I think this is one of the finest houses I've ever seen, and I'm very excited about staying here.
Oh, God, it's so nice! Oh, God, it's lovely.
After our first desert shower, we're meeting the owners, David and Karen, to find out the challenges they faced building this mountain home.
Hello, how lovely to meet you.
Karen, I know.
So lovely
Piers,
to meet
hi,
you.
nice to
I
meet
feel
you
like
too.
I know you already a bit because we've stayed in your house, and I think it must
Hi, Karen, I'm Piers.
have
Thank
something
you.
of you about it, I feel.
David has had a lifelong connection with this mountainous desert, and 12 years ago found this virgin plot of land on which to build the house of his dreams.
So I had been in love with the desert, having grown up here.
Yeah.
And living in San Diego, I was driving back frequently to see my parents, and I was driving through the beautiful Saguaro Preserve, and I said, I need to get some land. I visited a neighbor here, had dinner, and he realized how passionately I was attached to this land. He called me up one night and said, would you like to be my neighbor? So I said, yes. Is the lot as good as yours? He says, it's better. I said, fine, I'll be over to buy it. That was Thursday night. I'll be over to buy it on Saturday.
David employed local architect Cade Hayes, who is passionate about building houses which respect the natural environment.
It's a huge responsibility. This being untouched, virgin landscape, to put a building in here that in theory could spoil it.
I said, I really want to keep this land, sort of like we dropped the house down. I want it to fit perfectly into the land, and I thought he got that perfect.
Cade's plans took great care to cause minimal disruption to the fragile ecosystem that exists here, and during the build, only 3 cacti had to be moved. Such is the importance of the natural vegetation that a fine is imposed if any cactus is removed without carefully replanting it.
The construction people were very careful about the environment. We tried to save every bit of native vegetation that we could. It's a large structure, but the desert all around you is still very happy that you're there. If I did anything right, finding a brilliant young architect and then letting him do what he does.
Whilst Piers is getting the lowdown from David, I'm keen to find out from Karen the true cost of building a home in the desert mountains. I've renovated lots of houses with my husband, and we've almost
With
come to
your
well,
husband?
you know, we have been
Like
as a
you
partnership.
agreed, like, honey, let's do this together, and we're going to agree on
No,
this?
but we decide we're going to do a project, and then we fall out. There are always things that drive me mad. Have there been problems like that with you and David?
Well, there's a little pause of silence there because I have to compose myself a little bit.
Okay.
The house was completed, I think, 2013. And at that point, I stopped by to see it when it was all furnished and photographed, and it looked really beautiful. And then we went home and we kind of looked at the checkbook, and I went, oh my God, what did we do? So we didn't really come for a year, and we finally had the energy.
You didn't come because you overspent?
We overspent, we just were exhausted.
I'm quite interested. That's a long time not to come to a house.
I was kind of thinking about killing my husband.
Okay.
But-
So you weren't angry
but-
with us, you were quite angry with David?
I was kind of angry in general.
Yeah, I get it.
I was going to kill him, but
Yeah,
I
I get
needed,
it.
we were too much in debt, so we needed him to be able to continue to work.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, that would also look bad if I got the life insurance and then I killed him.
And the house, it would look awful, wouldn't it? Yeah. So you didn't come, then you decided you had to come back?
We just decided, okay, we did it, we're going to make it work, we're going to come back and enjoy it. That was probably one of the low points of the house experience.
Why?
Well, during the year we weren't coming, the door was open about this wide. The lights were popping on and off. The bugs were coming through the open door at night to feast on the light. And then there were some rodents that also found their way in to enjoy the toilet water. They love it in here.
You clearly have been through a lot. It's cost you a lot of money. It's been quite a journey for you. But arriving here today, what do you feel when you see the house? Do you have any fondness for it?
There are more ups than there are downs these days, which is really nice. The house is understated. It doesn't really, it's not flashy. It's not trying to impress you with fancy, ornate this and that. It's just to blend in and be in harmony in this incredibly harsh environment. I think the beauty of the desert is just really, really starting to take hold of me.
Thank you so much for looking after us. We have had the most wonderful time in your house.
It's been our great pleasure.
Take care.
Bye. Bye, darlings. Bye-bye. It's an amazing house, but I don't think it's been particularly easily won.
Do you think? I mean, because David seems in love with it.
I think he is in love with it, but I think that doesn't necessarily mean the journey's been easy for the whole family.
Do you think it's been the problem child for them?
Yeah. They've been through some stuff.